stones and shadows wide, willows whisper of darkness deep and wide. In the forest there is no place to hide. Strange bells, tonight I fear that I will not survive the dying of the light.
Okay. This is The Dying of the Light, a series from the Starfall Collective. Excuse me. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and compelling stories in a fictional world we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective, as well as the stories we're telling, at thestarfallcollective.com. Episode, let's find out who's in it. I'm Sir Robert, a father and entrepreneur, and I'm the host of this season's story. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Please say your name, something about yourself if you like, and a brief description of the character you're playing. Let's start with Dwight.
Hey, I'm playing Belvari, who is a young human druid who is terrified that at any moment a lich will appear and kill all of us.
That seems fair. Matt, how about you? Speaking of undeath.
Liches.
Talamini, a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island. You can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew, TALAMINI.com. I play the shirtless wizard, Diamondback, who constitutes the reason why Belvari is so scared of that witch.
Well, the lich is the actual reason.
Yeah.
He's
The immediate cause.
He was more the matchmaker.
Pat, how about you?
Yes, hello, I'm Pat. I am playing the half-orc Toll, who was not present last episode, but before that was gathering up tree warriors and just seeming to sort of establish a policing infrastructure in the settlement.
That's right. And just to remind our players and listeners, there were 4 of the trees in particular who were tending to come into the building, into the city. The larger trees can't get in through the front gate and wouldn't drop in through the side because then they wouldn't be able to get out. So the trees that are in are smaller, still taller than a human, but not like giant towering oaks.
I actually thought about this. The trees could use themselves to form ramps up and down the walls.
That's true. They might be able to. And their willingness to do so. But I don't object in principle. Let me see. Okay. How about Jared?
Hey, I'm Jared. I'm playing Yoshka, who is a wayfaring.
Yeah. Okay. Josh?
Hi, my name's Josh. I'm playing Inkatink, a Kinku with many voices but not one. Inkatink is, I think, leaning into kind of settling into coming to terms with what it means to have a city for a home. Having a place to belong is something that's been deprived of him for a long time, and now he's got it, and it's obviously fraught with complications. So I think his heart is a little bit on his sleeve at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Aaron Joy playing Neno may be here later, and Jacob playing Talbot as well. I'm going to start us off actually in a slightly different place than I expected to, because I was thinking the two of them might be here to start. And so there's some stuff that is relevant to their character arcs. But we'll start in a different spot that is a different thread that we have available to us. In previously, on the Dying of the Light, the party, the players actually did a Q&A session with me to understand better what the characters know and see and understand about the world. So the idea there is they've been through a lot of changes, and where are they? You can move that. They've been through a lot of changes, and so it's to understand how are they interacting with things. Importantly, they have been there about a week. This is kind of the major takeaway. Not the party. Yoshka has brought the 300 refugees along with Neno, 300-ish, into the town about a week ago. And they have spent the past week clearing out houses around the southern rim of the city's border. They cover about 60% of that southern rim, so a little more than half. And one of the townsfolk is up in the tall buildings that are near Diamondback's tower, which is to say, tower is about 4 stories tall. In this world, that's quite tall. Excuse me. And sorry. Sorry. And it is the people of Sarah Khan who are used to Garatone's domain with the undead. They didn't actually pick that because they like being near the undead. It's that's where the taller buildings are, and they're used to living more vertically. So we're going to start with, it's just been about a week now. That was last episode. The last week is our last downtime episode. The stuff that you described doing, Toll was animating trees. Diamondback's been doing some animating of dead and cleaning out some stuff. Inketing's, different things y'all were all doing, making tools, working with, helping get people settled. At this point, the 300 people are roughly into some places. They do not feel secure. It's been a week. They are keenly aware of the ramp into their
started
place.
excavating
And some of them have started excavating. They are not super keen on... We were just getting to how to deal with the fact that it's anywhere from a 20-minute to half-hour to 2-hour to get to the city exit, and then get all the way back to the part of the outside of the wall where they are from. And if anything were to attack, they have to either jump down a 30-foot hole, 30-foot wall, which is problematic, or run for an hour, and try to get away. That's something that they probably could use some help with. They are not super excited. The ones that are farther from the gate are not super excited to, be putting themselves in grave mortal danger for this, although they recognize the necessity.
Could we put together some sort of movable or collapsible up to the wall, and then dig all except for a ramp, and then dig that ramp as the last thing?
It's okay with me if y'all want to figure out something good. I'm happy to say what is and isn't plausible or whatever.
Yeah,
and then,
something you can move away from the wall at night, so we have minimal protection, and then put maybe just a tall ladder.
Toll, I think this is a problem you can give us great help in.
Just tell me what you need me to do.
Well, these trees of yours, tell me what is your mind for them?
I'm not sure I follow.
Well, I am thinking you have awakened them, and they want things too. So we must treat them well. And
Yes.
many of the trees, some of the trees awakened are too large to come into the city.
Yes.
They they seem naturally positioned to guard outside the city.
Yes.
Perhaps I was falling asleep the other night and the thought came to me, what would a garden look like if it was designed by plants?
I don't know.
I think this would be a wonderful thing to find. I think we should propose to these trees perhaps a friendly trade. If they would protect us until we can clear away this our walls, perhaps we give them domain for the forest, the surrounding forest, for them to garden, and we make sure our people respect the things they would wish to do with the forest. I don't know what that is and what that would mean for us, because I know there are local resources, but that seems to me like they will be our neighbors.
That was pretty much what he was thinking.
Hey, Pat, turn your mic down just a little bit more again. It got hot again.
Sure.
Thanks. Sorry, go ahead.
How's that?
That's better.
Good. All right. That was basically what Toll had in mind for the trees, was that it would be kind of like we protect them, they protect us, we'll have each other's backs, they can do what they want with the surrounding forest, and we'll do what we want within the walls. And he also would have been, as he was awakening these, he would have been trying to spread the message throughout the village with like the new settlers and everything, that they're friendly, they benevolent, they don't have an ulterior motive. If you're nice to them, they're likely to stay, and that would be good for everybody.
And perhaps if while they are feel some debt to you for awakening them, if we treat them as their own people before they start to feel it themselves, this will be better for us.
Yes, that's my thought as well.
So, for that, any way that works for me. I just want to point out two more things. Yoshka, and sorry, this is out of character. I know it's a little bit of interruption, but it's going to affect possibly how y'all are dealing with today. Yoshka, information that is on your mind regarding what do you call them? Unicorns.
Yeah.
And also Diamondback, you have some on your mind. So I just wanted to throw that in. And Diamondback, from your perspective, it's imminent. You're anytime.
Yeah. So
He's trying to make his own witch.
so it's going to become it's going to be nasty. No.
That's right.
So if everybody else is sort of meeting and talking about the trees and talking about what the trees can do, Diamondback is going to. Diamondback, I think, wants to take Tull aside just if he can get him away from everybody else for a little, just for a quick tete-a-tete.
And do you want to, for talking with this toll right now, do you want to have the others not listen?
No, it's fine. And Diamondback's going to say, he'll say something like, Tully, your trees, they're extremely, it's a great asset to us. I wish to ask you something about their capabilities.
Well, I'll answer as best I can. Some of their behavior is unknown to me as of yet.
Some have very wooden personality.
If you
I resemble that remark.
if you wanted a pair of travelers to get lost in the woods, are there woods around here?
No. I want to stop you right there.
A pair of travelers that is liable to do us great harm were they to come here.
Are they to do us great harm?
You know my feelings about the Iron Bell. You know how they send pairs out into the world seeking settlements, and you know what happens to those settlements. If one such pair were to be drawing near, the trees, it seems, could provide us a way to subtly turn them from their path, to keep them away from us. Say, a close thicket towards us, and an easier way that leads away from us. Or perhaps during the night, as they sleep, a tree which serves as an easy landmark has moved.
Would you have me lead them to you?
I think myself and some others would be quite happy to lay an ambush, of course, far from our settlement.
I thought the point was to not ambush them, because we want them to report back there's nothing here, not that they disappear when they get near.
Belvar is not involved in this conversation right now.
Let's have a lich on one side and an Iron Bell on the other. Sounds like a good idea.
So Robert, this is a world question. The trees, I believe, have an intelligence of 10. Would they understand the moral implications of necromancy?
Trees are really different than trees in this. Sorry, first of all, awakened trees are not going to have a major. Let me say that. Recently awakened trees are not going to have a major knowledge of politics like who the Iron Bell are. That said, they have a really, really different psychology around undead. For example, trees would naturally understand the idea of propagating through cuttings. They would naturally understand that if a tree falls dead, shoots can come back out of it. So they don't exactly get necromancy as a kind of foul thing the way we do. They are not averse to it as greatly evil. They're more, greatly evil. Like they don't have a sort of revulsion for it. They are willing that it's taboo for meat, like you all, but they don't quite get why, because it's not a big deal to have a fungus on you or something like that.
So
Not to mention,
proposition.
99% of their tissue is non-living.
Here's my proposition, Tall. Imagine to Iron Bell, tramping through the wilderness, when suddenly out of nowhere, in a land where zombies are very common, zombies are everywhere, they are attacked by 4 zombies and, let's say, 4 awakened trees. One of them survives to tell the tale and finds themselves fleeing in the opposite direction of us, back to safety. The other one, who can say? I'll be there, but invisible. They won't know that I was involved.
Toll was initially very against this, and he's trying to like keep a level head and do the right thing. But these people did enslave him.
Yeah, these
And-
are the people that enslaved you.
And he also is considering the security of the village.
These could be sort of just kind of fancy-free, fun-loving Iron Bell of the Garatone type. These weren't necessarily the ones enslaving you.
I mean, the Nazis had nurses, so
I'm just saying.
He's been
yeah,
saying that
Toll's-
for years.
Toll is going to. You've been saying the Nazis have nurses or had
So
nurses.
Diamondback
For
thinks
years.
that it's better if Tull suggests this idea to Belvari than if Diamondback suggests it to Belvari and Yoshka.
Diamondback says that, or he's thinking that?
Diamondback wants to subtly suggest this.
So the implication is that you need the cooperation of the whole group, not just the trees.
I need the cooperation of the trees. I would like. I don't need the whole group to even know about it, but I need the trees because the 4 zombies aren't going to cut it. They're going to be able to get rid of 4 zombies, but with zombies and trees, I think we can do it, and I think we can make it. And maybe Belvari might help. He might come in as a wild animal. Like we can make this look like an accident and kill one of them or something, and the other one gets turned around going the other direction.
Yeah,
With a story about how it's really dangerous here. There are wild animals, there are zombies, there are awakened trees that like it's not worth it. It's not worth it trying to get whatever they are trying to get from this spot. This lake is a dangerous area.
Yeah. All right. So Toll will say, "I will give you 4 trees on the night that you need it. You will tell no one that I've done this. If you say I did, I'll deny it. And if anybody asks, you got lucky with the Iron Bell."
Excellent. Can you think of any way Belvari would be a great addition to this operation? Because
Then you should talk to him.
But is there no way?
Can't you ask him out for me?
Can you ask him out for? I think that I do not at present have Belvari's trust to a high degree.
I wonder why that might be.
Sorry,
My ears burning.
everybody except Yoshka and Neno were being persuaded by Diamondback that they are not in danger from the zombies or Lich when he rolled a double 1 on his persuasion check. He rolled a catastrophic failure with a catastrophic failure. You two, however, did not experience that. So I'll let you interpret the misgivings of the others how you will, but you didn't firsthand get this really terrible, like, wow, he's so wrong. You were just, however your characters felt. I just want to tell you where your characters are as far as that danger stuff goes. That is not directly relevant to this thing, but it is like the zeitgeist of the party towards Diamondback partially right now.
Yeah. And just to set the scene a little bit, I'm imagining we work all day, every day while there's light, and these conversations amongst our group are like in the black building that we've all chosen to inhabit.
Mhm.
Maybe after Yoshka sings his lullaby for everybody. And I was imagining inviting some occasionally having some standing invitation for like village leaders to come and talk with us too. But if one thing that was just became clear to me, if Diamondback is coming to, it sounds like Diamondback is there. Is that right? You're with us at night.
He lives in
You
his
come-
tower, right?
Like,
Yeah,
when were you?
I stop in. I stop in. Maybe not every night, but I don't live with the rest of you anymore.
Okay. Well, then, within the first week, if you're kind of visiting us and while we're having these group planning conversations, Yoshka would certainly have said within the first few days, like, Diamondback, what are you up to?
I mean, wasn't he like bringing the zombies around the village?
Yeah, the zombies are helping out.
Doing manual labor and stuff.
Yeah, zombies are doing manual labor, and I'm handing out torches that give light but not heat and never go out.
He's running for mayor.
I will tell. This is the truth that I tell to Yoshka. I say, I'm doing what I always said I would do, which is I am restoring the Snake Clan.
Okay, this has even some more context that I guess Yoshka would be informed of, but Jared is not. So there have been days where it's like we're out, we're passing through, and we see some villagers. We pass some zombies digging out muck or something, not like alongside villagers, or what was that scene?
At any given time, tell me if this is right, Matt. At any given time, Matt is able to control 4 zombies or skeleton, undead things.
They have to be pretty close to me. So, like, basically, it's if there's some project, there is free zombie manual labor available, like maybe 3 times a week in the mornings.
They're his entourage, and you're not going to just find him roaming around. And also, if you're just picking this like couple mile stretch of around the city, you're not likely to run into them at a given time. You may have once or twice.
Okay.
And they're actually looking a little bit more like mummies by the end, because he's been doing things like packing them with fragrant herbs and binding up the rotting parts so that they're not quite as unpleasant. So they're maybe a little bit more looking like mummies than straight up like rotting corpses walking around.
So it smells like a poorly kept nursing home. Wow.
Really poorly kept.
Yoshka certainly would have, upon seeing something like this, saying, listen, we have people from 3 different lands here. We are all carrying such great grief. Please, will you keep your zombies with those of Sarah Khan? They will not mind, but the others, I don't think they can understand yet.
I don't want any trouble. I'm happy to keep them away from anybody who doesn't like them. Everybody doesn't like them. They give off a palpable aura of evil.
So then I guess,
Some evil people
okay,
around her.
so that there's some background, and then I'm imagining a scene shift back to sometime when Diamondback visits the tower and we're all together, and he says, "What are you up to?" And Diamondback gives this answer.
About restoring the Snake Clan.
Yeah, and I say, Diamondback, I cannot deny that this is yours. And Belvari's and Neno's. It is ours. I would not take that away from you. But what you do is evil. It is foul and dark, and I don't see how it has any place here.
On the contrary, my friend, this is exactly the place for it.
No one will ever feel at peace with it. It will always be foul to us. We can all feel, and Yoshka looks around at everybody, this is a dark and wrong thing to do to the dead.
I understand that everybody is raised in a different culture. This is mine. It's totally normal where I come from.
But it is not just different, it is sick. And Yoshka is starting to try to be persuasive to the group here.
Should Diamondback roll what would it be, like a charisma saving throw, a wisdom saving throw?
Yeah, I think
To
I don't
turn
know
his
about
back
wisdom
on his
because-
entire way of life and everything he
I was going to
believes.
say it would have to be really, for it to be a wisdom thing, it would have to be like you're.
It would be the kind of check that if he lost the roll to Yoshka's persuasion check, it would not convince him utterly, but maybe just move him one notch.
Yeah, it's like a proselytizing a religion effectively. So
At least make him
I'll-
capable. Good.
And just to clarify, when I said Yoshka's trying to persuade the group,
yeah,
he's trying to
okay.
create some more atmosphere where it's clear to Diamondback, like, this is not welcome here. He's not thinking to change Diamondback's mind.
I'll let Diamondback. I'll let you interpret. excuse me. Whether it's persuasive to you in any way, that's okay with me. Any way you want. I think a roll is a great way to do that. But if you want to.
Well, yeah, Diamondback has been making wisdom checks for this sort of thing throughout the entire game, so why not another one?
Oh man, he's terrible at rolling
And
wisdom.
Yoshka, Jared, I would have you roll a persuasion check since you're clearly trying to do persuasive speech towards everybody. So if you want to roll,
I don't want to make a...
this isn't
Bards.
contested.
Right. Never go up against a bard with persuasion.
I think the important question is how many of us are not already convinced that this is a bad thing to do?
So
Because I feel like Cole is already he's like, yeah, that's wrong. I'm not a fan of it.
okay, fair enough. I'll let each of you interpret it how you will, and if you're set, great. He rolled a 15. Yoshka did, and if that cements you more, great. Or if you're undecided, that's okay with me. Maybe we should do this. Where are you all on this? Let's say that. Where's Nano?
I don't think she feels as strongly as Jared does about the ultimate evilness of not letting the dead lay dead, or whatever his subjection is.
Different strokes for different folks.
But she doesn't trust Diamondback purely for immaturity reasons. He's not proven to have the kind of character that she wants to follow. So she's, if there's a contest, if there's something ambiguous, she's going to follow on the not Diamondback side. Sorry, Diamondback.
Okay,
That's a great move.
Where's Belvari on it?
Belvari doesn't particularly care about the zombies. He's like, it's just his thing. He's seen it before. They're a little creepy, He's like, not. I want to hang out with those guys, but he is very concerned about the lich that exists below our town, and at any moment may appear near Diamondback's. Focus. He's not on board with that.
Speaking of Diamondback's focus, just to point out, none of you have seen him with it recently.
Belvari's been looking for it and has not succeeded.
So a couple. Sorry.
Should I kind of draw that conversation to a close, or
Let me just throw in, since y'all are having a meeting about stuff that you care about, don't forget that in the last episode, Inkatink and Yoshka had an exchange about Inkatink's focus.
Yeah.
And so that's on Inkatink's mind. So just wanted to throw that in there. If this would be, if y'all are determining what you're going to be doing for today, say, for example, this is probably a topic in there. I'm guessing Inkatink. Doesn't have to be. I just think probably.
So here's what Diamondback wants to do. Are there any other druids besides Belvari?
Yeah, Pat.
Toll is a druid.
Toll is a druid?
Yeah.
Toll, can you transform into an animal?
I don't think I can do that. I don't know why I can't. Well, so how does Belvari do that? Because that's like a learned spell, right?
It is his circle.
Yeah, the druid circle.
Circle of the whatever. And Toll, I think, should have a circle, right?
What level do you pick one?
So it wouldn't make any sense to pick Circle of the Land in the, well, whatever. That's mechanics. Sorry to interrupt.
Dwight says third level.
I think. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm level 4.
Okay.
But is that in your spells?
No, it's a
Or
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
magical.
Yeah, it's not a spell. It is.
Oh, I do have it as an action. I can magically assume the shape of a beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, wow.
Diamondback is going to, when you agree to give him 4 trees, he will invite you along as well. If you take on the shape of a wild animal, you can. He will try and get you to join this mission along with him.
Can Belvari try to hear about this going on?
Here's what Diamondback wants to do, Mr. DM. This is what Diamondback wants to do for this mission. Diamondback wants to look suspicious in front of Belvari about this mission so that Belvari will follow. He wants to bring Belvari along, but without telling Belvari that he's going to be part of the mission.
Roll a performance check.
Oh,
I mean, a
but
performance. Yeah.
isn't it?
That's what you want to do. You're trying to perform. Let's
Isn't
see
it
if you're
deception?
like really handy. What's that?
Oh wait. Oh, they're both +0 for me. Okay. Are you sure this isn't a history check or religion?
Really good at that.
Pretty sure.
No. Okay.
And,
Here goes.
Belvari, roll a wisdom savings throw.
Well, but that's just Diamondback's plan. If we're not there yet, if we're still in the like talking to each other phase, maybe I shouldn't like make that roll quite yet.
Tell me when you to try to accomplish that, and we'll make that roll.
So I need to do this. I need to go out like in time to meet the thing.
Yeah.
So whatever the time frame that Diamondback knows about it is.
He doesn't know a time frame. He knows that because there's nobody directly, right? If you remember the messages.
Okay, so we're gonna have to go out hunting.
Maybe.
Okay.
They're roving around.
Listen, Diamondback, or everyone, since we have met you, you have been, I can't say you have not been a help to us, but you have been at least as much trouble to us. You are dangerous even to your friends. We see when you always hide behind us when danger comes. We are not at a place where we can trust you to start some village of your own and trust that we can live peaceably with whatever is in your mind to do. And Yoshka's looking around at everybody else to see if they chime in and nod approvingly or what.
If is Inkatink there? Is this like you're doing this at a time when everyone is there?
Yeah, this is like a huddle at the beginning of the day-ish. You haven't decided. Sorry, real quickly. You haven't y'all are entrusted with a certain amount of responsibility for this place. Whether or not individually you each take that, you're being looked up to, and at least as is has been your habit, some, especially Yoshka's habit, also Neno's, like one chunk less, to go out and help the people and kind of steer the way things are developing. The rest of you, I'm happy for you to engage that. You can tell me how your characters are, but this is something like a meeting that y'all do many mornings. Hey,
It's
what
a
are we?
morning and not a night.
It's a morning. Yeah, it's sometime in the morning. What are we going to work on today? Type of deal. You have some requests from people. You have some different things, and I'm happy to tell you what those requests are. But this is what you're talking about right now.
If Yoshka starts actively fomenting the dissent of the community against Diamondback, I think Inkatink would get pretty miffed and his feathers would flare.
This is your internal meeting. It's just you guys. It's not other people.
Right, but that's what he's talking about. He's talking about actively he's acknowledging, drawing attention to, trying to draw on the weight of this concept that everyone's against him and doesn't really want him around. And I think Inkatink steps forward and squares up to Yoshka, and he, in terms of body language, he looks pretty similar to how he looked in front of the orc field captain of the Iron Bell platoon that showed up at Saracon, and not Saracon, the village of Saracon. And he looks at Yoshka, and in the voice of that bandit that he has referenced before, he says, at least, and then he says the name Diamondback in Diamondback's name. Diamondback didn't leave. At least say what you will. He's stuck around, Paco. And he kind of puts his finger into Yoshka's chest. Not hard. He doesn't shove him or anything, but he puts his finger into his chest. He says, he's stuck around. More than I can say for some people here. And he kind of takes a step back.
I have a real quick question, Sir Robert. Has Diamondback found any archaeological proof that can link this place to snakes without giving away too much?
Yeah, I mean, well, okay. Actually, that reminds me of one question y'all didn't ask that I forgot to tell you that I want you to know. The symbol that y'all have seen a few times, versions of, is floating on the white stone above, the white stone that floats above that fountain, right? Versions of that symbol. There are also stylized carvings of some of the black stone is decorated with embossed, stylized long lines that do things that you, Diamondback, have previously interpreted as snake oriented. And you have found Naga skeletons, and there are reason to believe that this is once upon a time some kind of Diamondback at least believes once upon a time some kind of snaky place.
Well, so there's evidence, I think, that I would there's strong evidence of that I would not want to show them. But also what I'm asking is there really good evidence of like past snake activity here that I can show to Yoshka? Like, can I take him to some building and there are snakes carved everywhere on it and be like, look?
No.
Can I make a history check for that?
You could dig out the.
Absolutely can. I'm telling you, Diamondback is very much persuaded that these stylized coiled lines and other things that are decorating some bits are snakes. And they could be interpreted that way for sure. Like they really, really could be. Yoshka might be persuaded of that. You really are persuaded of that. And again, like there's good evidence. It's not conclusive like, look, pictures of snakes. It's more like
I want it conclusive, but okay.
Open your eyes.
So Diamondback will say to Yoshka, he'll sort of come sort of between Inkatink and Yoshka and say, Yoshka, have you not looked at the buildings, the inscriptions, the way the doors are, the way these buildings are all arranged? This place belonged to the Snake Clan before it belonged to anyone else. When I came here, I was coming home. The dragon took us to the place which is the ancient home of my people. That's here.
Diamondback, roll me a persuasion check with advantage. The reason you're getting advantage on this is that
in the background, Inkatink's going.
Can I respond to what Inkatink said too at some point?
Yeah, hold on one sec. The reason you're getting advantage on this is because the stuff around really, if Yoshka's kind of honest with himself about it, he could be persuaded that it's snaky. So there's the real experience of that in your advantage in your description. So go.
14.
Okay. Yoshka, why don't you respond? You can respond to. You can respond to both or either or neither. Diamondback rolled a 14. If you were to want to see how persuadable Yoshka is, I think a wisdom thing is appropriate for that. But I'll leave it to you. Maybe decide already.
Okay. Okay, but so if I may back up, I was just trying. It took Jared a little while to imagine how would Yoshka respond to Inkatink doing that, and I think he would. That would definitely like jar him out of the kind of line of attack that he was making on Diamondback. And just physically stepping in between him and the sight of Diamondback would be something like a prelude to a change in topic, to conversation. And then, so he says that. We say it again, Josh?
I think Inkatink says
he stuck around.
Yeah, at least he stuck around. And again, one of the things that I realized that Inkatink would also say is, he's in that voice. At least he stuck around. I tell you what, I knew this family that had this dog, real mean dog, liked to bite the kids sometimes. And I asked him, why'd you keep that old mangy mutt around, even though he took chunks out of your kids' cheeks? They said, well, because we didn't have a problem with any of the orcs that lived in the forest next door. So think about that next time you want to run off the only dog that's keeping the orcs off your tail, all right? And he steps back.
Mag is the only dog keeping the orcs off our tail.
This is the blessing and the curse of Inkatink, is that he can repeat appropriate dialogue, but it's never really, truly, entirely subject appropriate.
So Nano, hearing that, will make a mental note that she needs to get some alone time with Diamondback sometime because she hasn't heard his take of what's going on or what he's doing or what he's supposedly protecting us from. And it doesn't seem like that's going to come out in the group.
I think Belvaria would respond to Ingatink saying, "This dog has invited an army of orcs to come in to the city and live underneath us. In any moment, they're going to appear and kill all of us."
Wait, what?
The Lich! There is a Lich underneath this city. It's 10 minutes that way. We can go look at it.
Yes.
If it dies, it appears next to Diamondback's focus, which is hidden. He doesn't. He won't tell us where it is.
We must speak. This is Inkating. I hear you, and I am sorry I left when I did. But no, I am not sorry. I am sorry for you I left when I did. But we cannot all... No one will be able to stay with you forever. And we all must leave when we are called. And I will come back as much as I can. And he's kind of looking at him with soft eyes. And he says, but today... You are right, Belvari. We must speak to Morka about this Lich. This is our most pressing problem. Though we also, I feel the pull of, we also must soon, and he looks at Inkatink, voyage into the darkness. That's all.
I think when Yoshka says we must soon voyage into the darkness, that definitely visibly knocks the edge off of Inkatink's body language. You see his feathers go down. You see his shoulders relax. You see him take maybe even a half step back, and he, turns his head. His head is pointed exactly in the compass direction of that bubble, and he looks back over it. Yoshka and kind of turns his head sideways and gives kind of a thoughtful trill of, a trill of a clacking noise.
Okay, and then also I did not respond to Diamondback. Will you say it again, Diamondback?
Diamondback basically argued that it's his ancestral home and that you guys are actually the strangers here. And there's archaeological evidence that shows this.
Look at all the snake stuff.
Plus, he referred to the dragon, thinking
Yeah, the
that Yoshka presumably trusts the dragon and that the dragon would have known about the snaky past of the place and brought them here deliberately.
I'm going to point out to, as the DM, I'm going to say this is something that I think Yoshka would have heard in the allusion to the dragon, is that it was Diamondback who freed, specifically Diamondback, who found and freed the copper worm, dragon worm.
And Belvaria.
And Belvari, yeah, absolutely. Diamondback went in with Belvari, the orangutan, I believe it was at the time, in that form. Yeah. But so they, Diamondback's making a case that something like the dragon had that in mind in this reward, in this lair. That would be present in your mind. It's not just something that I'm pitching. It's
just two separate arguments. One argument that the dragon gave it mostly to Diamondback and Belvari, and one argument that it is snaky. If it is not snaky but is instead dragony, then we're down to one good argument.
What has Yoshka, when Diamondback says this, What does Yoshika remember seeing from his week, just helping people muck out?
Not just here, but also on the black stones that you all have seen, which have gotten more and more frequent as you got closer to this place. Since you've been in Garatone, there have been boulders or small versions of these, and you have seen on them decorations that involve things like lines that are very rectangular, but also do things like coil, in that way, or have other kinds of things that end in a line that goes around something and ends in, a dot, which is it a stylized head? Who knows? But Diamondback has previously and continuously made allusions to snakiness on them. I'll leave it to you whether Yoshika's persuaded, but they're certainly not ducks.
Yeah.
And the naga is a snake. I mean, it's just a big snake with arms. It's not a dragon.
And you
There's
roll
skeletons of them all over the place, and the Baisugen is one.
You say that, you see Yoshika frown and be quiet for a minute, like he doesn't like the sound of that. And then he says, "It's getting light and we must begin our day's work, but we will discuss this more later. Just because they called you the Snake Clan and there are snakes around here doesn't mean this is more yours. And it doesn't mean raising the dead has anything to do with snakes or is right or has a place here. But this is for another time. I need to go speak with Morka and see if she has any advice for dealing."
Diamondback's going to follow along and be present for that discussion if possible.
So very neat. So what are y'all going to do? You're splitting out for the day's tasks. Just tell me what you're interested in.
This lich conversation sounds important to Belvari.
Just what I said I was going to.
Okay.
Have we had any around a campfire at night talking times yet?
Not yet. I mean, you have done it, but we haven't recorded it. Hey, here's some requests that you have from the people, just from townsfolk. A pretty standing one is we could use some help. You have tasked them and they agree getting the outside of the wall, the mud and muck cleared away. It's a big volume of earth, right? It's not
From the outside of the wall?
From the outside. You've tasked each village that's now been relocated here. They're responsible for their portion of the wall.
Oh, after they settle in, then start to
Do
clear.
that.
Okay.
And so they've all said, hey, that's a big job. We could use help. So that's a standing kind of thing. There's other kinds of cleaning, different sorts of things that they're interested in. Different ones of them have requests for helping figure out what they can do with animals. There's small clusters of animals. This is just to tell you all, this is super unusual for townsfolk who are in towns of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Usually they would be spread out in the forest, and to be in a village basically adjacent to another is strange. They're not necessarily friends with each other, but they are generally the ones of goodwill that the Menowin delivered the barrels to. So they have kind of a common thread of sentiment, and they are maybe something on the lines of good alignment, but ranging from chaotic good, which is like we don't really want people over us enforcing laws and stuff, all the way to lawful, interested in. So the point is just to tell y'all that's like tensions can arise. Garriott has requested. They're trying to clear out one of their drains and has requested some help sometime. It's the one that's near them, they're on the westernmost side, is kind of challenging for them. Probably not significantly more than the other ones, but they don't like specifically know how to do this. One of the things they have mentioned about it, though, is that as far as they can tell, these big kind of like drain works, or it's a big, it carries a lot of water. It's been clogged up severely for a long time, and as far as they can tell, drains into something like an underground river. Like it goes into a place. Probably the other ones do too, but that's your best guess. There's no visible outside the wall place where those would drain that you can tell. Maybe it's under the dirt. So Garrett has said that, just sent a message from that. And Talad said he was helping people with various tasks and keeping an eye on the teleportation circle, which has seen no more activity. You haven't seen anybody come in, but theoretically somebody could. Teleportation circles are not widely used, but they're around. Okay, so those are some requests y'all have.
So in this whole time, we'll have been looking for an opportunity to find out what was under the stone. That's important to her. It's like that's the thing she's working up her courage to go do.
And that's where Belvari has been indicating the Lich is.
Right, but she doesn't.
She
She
hasn't
doesn't know.
seen it.
She hasn't seen it. She
She
doesn't
doesn't
know what's
know
down there.
what it
She wants to go exploring and wants the intel, so she would have tried to find out. But I don't know. Like she will already have asked, but I don't know what actually she would have heard.
Belvari, why don't you tell Neto your take on it? Because likely he's the one. He's been going on about it, so likely he's the one who would be telling you.
Also,
Talon would know too, but
Mhm.
yeah. If
So,
you,
sorry, hold on. Were you gonna say metadata about that, Matt?
yeah. Also, the necromancer is open for business. Diamondback has sort of office hours at the necromancer, the Dark Wizard's Tower. Neno can come and talk to Diamondback.
And the
anytime.
sign reads, "Having trouble raising your family?" Question mark.
And the only way to get to Diamondback's tower, just to let you know, remember y'all have cleared out the inner rim of the wall, about 60% up, and the corridor that goes from the south of the town straight to the fountain, which is just off center, and then Diamondback. So the only way for people to get there is they wouldn't go through the 5-foot deep muck. They'd be going like this and walking through the town up. They'd be going around the circumference towards the entrance, then walking northward to the floating place where there could be danger, then past that to Diamondback's place. Archon is also up there.
gotcha. Well, if you want to go under this rock, you can. You will find it to be very small, and at some point you will hit a spot at which you can no longer talk, and there is no sound, and then you will see a lich that is halfway encased in stone and just sitting there waiting to die so that it can appear next to Diamondback's focus and kill all of us.
I've never seen a lich. What does it look like?
Like a living nightmare.
Do you remember? Do you want me to tell you what it looks like, or are you good?
Sure, yeah.
For you don't know this, but it was your best guess looking at it was about a 10 to 12 foot long snake with human arms and legs. Remember, one was reaching and a humanoid face with a bit of a cobra-like hood.
A lich looks like the snake that I told you not to sleep because it exists.
So if we kill it, it will only be freed from the stone.
Yeah.
No. I think we must at least try to pray about this. Where do you think would be a good place with waters?
Is there water under the fountain? Where's the fountain water coming from?
Sorry, hold on 1 sec.
Seems to be coming up.
Hold on 1 sec. Sorry, just a sec.
Where does the fountain water come from?
I think it's coming from that cavern, but I mean, we weren't swimming, right? Is it like in the where we were walking? Were we walking in water?
Water seemed to. It was drippy, clammy, kind of, and water had. Remember, the whole thing was a lake, right? So, aside from the fact that water had drained through there to you know not where. And Diamondback, I don't know if you would have told them this. Diamondback and Inkatink would know that the center of the fountain has a pipe spewing water as though from something like an underground spring. And the pipe seems to go down far.
Isn't that coming out from where we went?
Yeah. The thing you noticed was a kind of coil around the fountain and down. Maybe 100-foot. Maybe 100-foot radius, slow spiral that got tighter.
And Toll, would you ask your trees if they want the soil on our walls? Perhaps if you propose the trade of this garden to be theirs for their protection, perhaps they would like the soil on our walls and they would help to clear it.
They will clear it if I ask them to, but I don't know that they need it.
Inkatink has he kind of seems to startle and kind of shake his head, and he pulls out a minor illusion cantrip component, and he crushes it, and he makes an image of the city, and you see all the dirt coming to the middle, and you see it kind of get piled up and fill up with water, and then you see little fish swimming around in it, and birds flying around it, and little turtles and stuff. So he just tries to pitch the idea of making a kind of wild and natural space in the middle of the city. And you see little trees around the pond, right? So the idea is that the trees could get to live in dirt with standing water. So it'd be a nice little wild area in the middle of the city.
Interesting. What do you think, Toll? Would they? What? Maybe you could ask what they would want for their roofs.
Yes, I will see what they would like to do. My initial impression is that they would prefer to be among their own kind. They respect us and us them, but I don't get the impression that they like us as such.
You would all be conspicuously aware now that the city is not drying out. The water from the fountain is still flowing, and it overflows, goes down those channels, but it's more than maybe is reasonable. The muck is still mucky.
Weird funguses growing.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit, not so much. More that the water that was draining out the exit to the south and trying to go towards those drains that we mentioned is just, it's still flowing out of the muck, and the muck is still mucky. So it's very wet, but it's like not obvious why.
Maybe there's some other fountains still covered in
If the
muck.
King of the Dead wasn't right next to this endless spring, I would think that would be the best place to pray.
Yeah. So you guys probably lost interest in watching the meditative things Nino does, like a half ago, something like that. So you won't have noticed that since her visit to
Oravan.
Wilbur
Who was
Martin
that?
Morris.
Thank you. Since her visit to Morris, she's been doing an additional, not replacing, but an additional dirt scraping thing every night and every morning, and when she's eating. It looks kind of like this with a. One might think it looks like a flower. It's her. When she's drawing it, it's got a big circle, which she's thinking of as the room where she saw Morris. It's got petal things coming out from the sides, which are her imagination of the colored windows that were there. And one of the petals is not just a petal coming out, but it's a whole circle at the bottom of the larger room circle. And that's her imagination of the entrance and the exit to the so like for without any instruction whatsoever, she has made a physical prayer reference to Morris. And she's just kind of thrown that into her mix of what her spirit pays attention to when she's praying. And so it's that flower design that she is thinking of when she's trying to get her courage up to go to the spring, well, the fountain, which she will do very soon. She's getting there. Since she had been pretty fatalistic about death during the prior adventure that they had had, until Morris said, "Do not be afraid of the death ahead. There is life in the death if you can bring yourself to make the harder choice." And that put more oomph on the death concept. It changed it in her mind from something that she was sort of fatalistically resigned was going to hit her sometime. She's amazed she's skirted around it. This far. But yeah, now knowing that her death could be of substance or she could fail at it. Pursuing death is a scarier thing than it was. Perversely.
As she said,
like ironically, she was less scared to do the things that led to death until she realized that her death might matter.
has she said
So, yeah,
anything
she's
sounding?
getting courage.
Sorry.
Pardon?
Has she
Go
said
back.
anything like that around Diamondback?
She hasn't said anything like she's
Okay.
she's just been doing the praying thing while she summons up her courage, and every other day feels more and more prompted and bordering on embarrassed at this point by Yoshka asking her what what's up with the praying.
If Bovari sees your little turtle flower, he would go, what are you drawing there? A map of the city?
No, map of a very smaller place.
Kind of like the city with the gate in the south and
It does, now that you mention it.
various villages around the outside.
She files that away, food for thought.
As she does where does she do these? Does she go away to be alone, or do we see her doing them?
You see her doing them. She does them pretty much wherever she is, but to you it looks like distracted fidgeting. She's just sitting cross-legged on the ground. Or sometimes her hands are wrapped in her skirts, or just one hand tracing in the dirt or whatever is right at her feet.
So here are the things that I have heard for you all to do, and let's pick that.
Yeah.
One is go help the people who need help digging. That's an ongoing request. Two is go help
The clog.
some of you. Go help Garriott and Mirrodau people. They're trying to get this one great unclogged and want some help from some of you guys. It's probably not a everybody quick help. It's more of like they could use some of your heroics. 3 is go perhaps do some prayers near the water or whatever. 4 is go talk to Morka at Sarakam. And that's what.
Is go to the dark.
And 5 is
It's
go
5
hunting. 6 go hunting with Diamondback.
I don't think you've quite proposed that yet to everyone.
I definitely proposed it to Tall.
That's right. So yeah, 6, and you do not all have to do the same thing. You can split up, and you can probably do more than one of those in today if you wanted to. Maybe
Belvari would like to help with the unplugging, but he does not want to miss the conversation about getting rid of the lich.
I guess one of the things I haven't sorted out is, which would inform how I go see Morka, is if we had any meetings with leaders, Yoshiko would be asking, like, is there a good way we can find to quickly send messages to each other if anybody needs help? Because Yoshiko's thinking, like, well, while you're excavating, if you find something that can attack you, we're kind of the ones who should come help if we can, but we'll probably be far away. So I know Morka had that glove that she had given me, but I gave it to a guy to use. If we were brainstorming, I probably would have thought of that and been like, do you want me to take the glove again, or what use would you have for it? I would say to Morka or Grafit.
do you want to go there and talk to them?
I imagine I would have brought that up at one of our, if they ever came to, like,
Yeah, Morka just tells you it was yours to do with as you would. It's not for me to say.
okay, thank you.
You gave it to somebody or whatever, and so that's that. It's fine.
I would probably want to get that back then and say, please ask us for help whenever you need something.
Okay.
And then that morning, then I could just, if I had that, message her and say, like, Morka. And just wait for her to respond, because I imagine that's the ringtone.
Sure. Yeah, no response for a little while. She's probably doing something.
What do you think? I just wait by the glove all day?
I suppose I would then would say, well, I will go to see Morka. I'm going to go to see her.
Okay. Anybody else?
I will go too.
Gonna go see about
Inkatink
it?
goes with the group to see Morka.
Diamondback, what are you going to do? And Toll, if you want to make a pitch for going out, that's fine too.
Sorry, if Diamondback is hesitant about it, Inkatink was going to go because he saw his friend Diamondback walking into a situation where someone else in the group was trying to run him off. So if Diamondback's not going to go, Inkatink's not
No,
going to go.
I think I guess Diamondback will go.
Okay.
All right.
Toll,
You see Inkatink
Nana,
walk
what-
over next to Diamondback, and then when Diamondback starts walking, Inkatink walks right after him.
Okay. Toll,
Diamond,
Nana, what
you're-
are you-
Sorry,
Go for it.
Matt. You were saying you want to go look for the Iron Bell now.
The DM has a time frame. There's a time frame that Diamondback knows for that, but Matthew doesn't really. Is it urgent? Does Diamondback think it's urgent enough that he should go now instead of having this conversation?
Anytime in the next few days, as of a day or two ago.
Oh,
You just don't know when. They're not. There's a patrol
Yeah,
out
so
there somewhere.
I'll try and grab Tall after after this conversation, when the talking calms down and the work of the day starts.
Draven's still on the island.
And I can
No.
have some of the trees like out keeping an eye out for an Iron Bell patrol.
Nice. Yeah, we definitely want that.
Nana?
I don't think she has her courage yet, so she's going to head in the direction of Miradao instead of in the direction of the city center.
To help with whatever they're doing.
To explore what the water situation is there.
Okay, that sounds good.
That's her helping is her excuse.
Okay, y'all break and head out. Diamondback and Toll and Inkatink, y'all are gonna go after this immediate conversation. What are you gonna do, Diamondback?
Like after this the next thing Diamondback would like to do is get Tall and
Yep. Sorry, real quickly. Yoshka is going to go talk to Morka
Right.
about the lich.
Right.
Neno is going to go see what's going on with the Mirrodal folk. Belvari is going to go talk to the lich, and Inkatink seems to be interested in doing what you're doing right now, Diamondback.
Right.
Toll is, I don't know, maybe going
If
to
they're-
respond to what you said.
If they're talking about the Lich, Diamondback definitely wants to be there. But then after that, Diamondback is going to grab Tall, try and trick Belvari into following them.
Okay.
And but I have this question: what does Diamondback think about Inkatink's ability to kill somebody as a force of nature and not a person? Does Diamondback think that Inkatink would be able to help with this? Or does he have to shake Inkatink?
Inkatink, how stealthy are you?
Fairly. In fact, I might be one of the stealthier people in the party.
Okay, so you,
He can't
Diamondback,
turn
are
into a
aware.
wild animal.
He can't, but he can sound like a wild animal and do something stealthily.
And from a distance, I look like a raven.
That's right. From a distance, he could look like a bird figure. Also, don't forget, he can sound not just like a wild animal. He can sound like undead things. He can sound like
Okay.
what?
he's
And I
using
can
the
fly.
dress.
And
I'll
I can
bring-
fly.
Diamondback will bring Inkatink in on this mission too, if he's willing.
Don't I hear that?
Okay, but you want to do it after the Morka conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, and Inkatink. So Diamondback's going to go with them to talk to Morka about the Lich. What do you want to do?
Right now, Inkatink is glued to Diamondback's shoulder because he perceives a measure of hostility towards Diamondback from the rest of the party. So he
Okay.
is
Where it's coming
sticking with him. So whenever Diamondback turns and looks at Inkatink and says, "Hey, we're going to hurt some people and you can't talk about it," Inkatink's going to say, "Whose car are we taking?"
Okay, and Toll. That's how they're splitting up. Neno's going one spot. The rest are going a different way. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'll go talk to Morka.
Okay, so Neno, you're going to go off on your own to do that. Let's do that part first. We'll talk about that. And these are happening in parallel. I just, you know. Sorry, just got to make sure that's not. Okay. That's not.
She traipses there. She says
Yeah.
hi to every child she passes in that
Yeah.
half-mile walk.
And it takes you, you're probably there in an hour. You're not hurrying. You're talking to some kids and stuff. But it takes about an hour. You arrive, and basically Mirrodal, which is a moderately sized village among your little boroughs of the town. It's got about 18 people, right? -1 for the random missing. That was Mirrodal. They have taken up part of the town where one of these they've cleared a little bit from the side of the wall, and they've got 2 houses deep, kind of cleared of muck, and to have some places to live. And there's one where they've got some pigs, and one where they've got some chickens. That's about what they have. They've set up their place a bit. They're not as fearful as some of the other places. They were aware of the Iron Bell coming, but they're pretty confident with Garriott that, that he's been able to take good care of them. So they're not like timid and cowering like some are. This channel emerges down what looks to be something like a street or something. This channel emerges down the center of it, which you recognize as being a bigger version, or like a wider, shallow version from further up in the town where the fountain would have been. You've heard it described. And water is draining out from the muck and going down the center of the street between where they have their houses. They're sort of centered around that. And there is this grate, basically, where the drain is. And it's a mixture of different things. It's got some of the that you can see. It's got some what look like they're slats of this black stone, but there also appears to be various something like iron grating and a huge amount of just fallen trees that over time in this lake kind of fell and partially decomposed and are blocking up stuff. The water's building up there and seeping through. It's not steep. It's just, the water goes that way. And it's a big job. They've clearly been working at it. They have borrowed a mule from somebody else and have lashed, put ropes on it, and it's like dragging things off. But it's going to be a couple of day task. They are not all set about doing that. Some of them are. Others of them are cleaning or taking care of kids or animals, cooking things.
What are the underground creepos doing?
Sure. Skivrit and I can't remember the other one's name. They have taken up residence in one of the buildings. Essentially, the inside of these buildings are like their little dugout, sort of anthillish places. And they seem to be just minding their own business. I'm sorry. Those are the guys from Saracon. Never mind. They're not here in Miradau. They live in Saracon.
That's up north. Gotcha.
Yeah. This is Miradau over on the west side of the city.
So there's some children that are playing hopscotch and singing songs about Yat getting splat.
That's right.
Okay. Got it. I'm scrolling through the things that I have power to do. That could be helpful. I wonder, and I've got plenty of resources for this, so she would be happy to try it. Try some mending, just a generic mending over the whole situation, and see if there's something that is fallen where it shouldn't, or grown where it shouldn't, or.
You have to be specific, and you can repair I think it's up to, I think it's 1 foot of damage you can mend together. Thing you could try to.
Do we know if there is?
Doesn't look like it. It's just a big clogged drain as far as you can tell. Listening to the water, you can hear it fall and go, and there's definitely hollow sounding, cavernous sort of something farther away. It's not like roaring rapids or anything, but you can tell it's draining into some empty space with some water in it.
But we can't get into it because it's blocked.
Yeah, it's been blocked for a long time with this lake here, though it does drain through the muck and stuff of it, and it's pooled up in various places. It's not something that's going to be easy to do. With some good hard labor, certainly they'll be able to do it eventually. They were asking for assistance from some strapping young lads of you heroic people or whatever.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to
Ingenuity.
call this a reconnaissance mission because I don't have any way to help. But I will bring a report back to them.
Okay, that sounds good. You talk to them and they're happy to see you. They have some. By the time you're there, it's late morning, and they have some food for you if you wanted. And
Nice.
yeah, it's just a nice. Urella's there. Y'all are friends. You talk some. They seem to be in good spirits. They're getting stuff done. They have not started working on the outside of the wall. They're mostly working on getting this grate because there's a lot of water here where they're trying to live. And they want to get it to drain.
If they have any spare food, I am going to specifically take one of their underutilized people with me on my way back to the neighboring village so that person can deliver just a meal of food to somebody in the next village and then run home with tales of what's going on in that village. She's like deliberately trying to cultivate
Okay.
relationships.
Trade and yeah. So okay, that sounds good. They're happy for you to do that. Take some supplies and run that. You guys, you walk north. There is nothing eventful for this. It's pretty normal. You get to the part where there's those sort of piazza kind of open space with the fountain. Think Moscow's Red Square type of place. big stone floor and everything. You go and you pass the fountain. Belvari, if you would like, you're welcome to look around there. You can see the sort of fissure, which is where you got into this place.
Mm-hmm.
It looks possibly less pronounced than before now that it's been all cleaned out. It's not clear to you that it is, but it looks like it could be. The black stone, remember this fissure in the black stone was very unusual. It was something strange happening there, but it just seems to be like less clearly broken.
Yeah, I tell people.
So Yoshika
hey,
sees
that's
like
where
a
we
crack
were.
or something?
Yeah, basically there's a spot where it's, as you might imagine, like an earthquake where it's kind of jarred open and you can kind of wedge your way in. That's where they went in, and Bovari would point out, I suppose.
Yeah, went out the house where the zombie snakes are probably still there, buried in a lot of muck.
The crack is right next to it. There's one building at the edge of the sort of piazza area, and the crack is right near there. When they went down into that, they found themselves in a tunnel. To the left, the tunnel was completely blocked off with fallen debris and the black stone and stuff, probably from the fracture. And that seems to go towards that, like 10, 15 feet, right? But it seems to block that way off. Belvari points out that's where that house right there is where they buried 5 or so crazy snake naga thingies.
I think Inkatink looks at them in horror and shock, and fumbles for his components for mold earth and begins to like move the earth to cover up the gash that leads down to the lich, and then he runs over and he starts piling up dirt over the house that has all the things in them, and then he runs over and he carves a big skull or something into both of them.
Sure.
Yes.
That would take several minutes, but it's okay with me.
If they leave him, they leave him. He's focused on doing this, trying to seal off the threat.
Does it feel creepy?
I mean,
It just looks like an unusual crack and something we've
and
seen.
you
no
know
other
about
cracks
it,
in.
so maybe you're feeling creeped out by your
What I
forbidden
imagine.
knowledge, not necessarily the thing.
How
Whatever.
long did it take us to get to the lich?
When you went down in there, maybe 20 minutes or so. A little hard to tell, but also you're having to like wind, squeeze through tight spaces.
And I was following. Maybe I could go faster if I was in front.
That's right.
So there is a room down there?
No, there's just like very tight caverns. There's one spot where maybe it gets a little.
This is the very worst place. And the very best place for Neno if we could just... Well, let's see what Marcus says.
So you continue north past the fountain, and then you veer. If you were to go straight north and then just head just a little bit west, you'd get to Diamondback's Tower. Instead, you head straight north and make a right and head toward east, and it takes you another couple of minutes. You get to several blocks.
I thought the way you were drawing it before was the other way. West was the larger and east was the smaller.
The smaller one, maybe. Oh, I might have done it backwards.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You were drawing it
It
towards
can be-
you.
yeah,
Gotcha.
sorry
Okay,
about
gotcha.
Just so flip that part.
Yeah.
So you get to the Saracon place. They're a little bit different because they're not right on the wall. They're just in some tall buildings. Where tall means it still fits under the lake. When the lake was full, you couldn't see that happening. So 30, 40 feet something tall, several stories.
So not looking over the wall.
Not looking over the wall. But they are living in some of these buildings that are sort of narrower and taller, several of them now, and they've made a sort of enclave for them to be in. No, you don't notice any distinct pattern to it, but they seem to be able to be happy with 3 or 4 buildings that are right next to each other. And you get there, and Morka is available.
Morka, I brought some Milne cakes that you like.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Yoshi.
Compliments of Neno. I have come with a question. Are you busy?
We're doing things. What can I help you with?
Can we step aside?
Sure.
And we'll step into some building.
Just you and Morka?
I guess, and those who
Everybody
are
who's
with me.
there.
Yeah. So that any her.
If you just walked a few minutes back the way you came, you'd be going slightly towards the fountain.
Okay.
You know, a minute or two. Just travel to the end of the street.
We Belvari and the others have found there is some sleeping danger that I thought perhaps know about, if anybody. Have you ever heard of a lich?
A lich? I know what you mean, but I have not heard of a particular lich besides.
What's the obvious?
Does Belvari ask? Garatone.
Of the flayed hands?
When we came here, you know by Sujen, yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Of the Lady of the Lake.
Where is she?
Apparently, well, when we came here, we, I think, defeated her, but before she left, she said she may come back later. And we found who she seems to be working for. There's a great snake king under there that
I think the
Belvari-
witch was female, right? Yeah. No, it's
Oh,
not
was?
a king, yeah.
okay, queen that she was working for, and Belvari fears that if we were, well, we don't know how to kill it. He thinks if we killed it, it would come back to, well, Diamondback has stolen something from it. He won't tell us where, and Belvari thinks he will come to that.
Gee.
Does this mean anything to you? Am I speaking?
This is not something I would never go near such a creature. I am not strong for anything like this. I would say some of what you say does not make sense to me.
Well, yeah.
You don't-
And he said it's not a problem. And he rolled 2 ones.
You don't kill a lich.
No. Well,
You can't
when
kill
this-
what's already dead.
when the skeletons rise again, we can destroy them, and they do not rise again. Is this right? We break their bones into powder?
Oh, sure. Yes, of course. The
But-
magic, the ancient magic of Garatone cannot raise just anything.
But ghosts are different. Do you know about ghosts? And we think we vanquished the moaning lady of the lake, but she said she would come back, and we need to find a way to keep this people safe.
Inkatink treats the party to the this is real short. Inkatink treats the party to the audio of the moaning lady so that people can hear the sound bites of what he doesn't repeat her ad nauseum because she said a lot of things a lot of times, but he tries to give sound bites of the various different things that she said. Keep going.
I have the idea, but I realize I don't know this for sure. I was thinking that the lich looked exactly like the spirit that we fought and defeated.
Roll me a history check to see what your memory. That's for me to understand your memory.
Let's see what my history bonus is.
Since Diamondback is there, real quick, he's already tried to convince them once about this, and so you don't have to give me the chance to try and convince them again. My previous failure can still hold for this, but Diamondback would like to try and convince them again about this.
Roll it with disadvantage, but I'm okay with that.
Okay, so Diamondback is, or wait until you're done with
Can
Um,
Inkatink give the help action for this to try to negate the disadvantage?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
Just a sec. Belvari, you do. That's your impression,
Mhm.
but
Do I,
you
like,
couldn't
not
swear
sure?
on it. You're. It was. I'll say it this way. That's just what you were operating on.
Mhm.
It didn't even occur to you to like guess that. It was just like that was your impression of it, and so that's what you were thinking. But hearing somebody else, hearing Yoshika say that she worked for the Lich, you're like, oh, well, maybe I was wrong, maybe not, but I thought it's fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, so Belvar would say, like, oh, I don't think that they're different. I don't think she was working for him. I think that was just the Lich projecting herself out. And
Oh,
so she's coming back, when she can project herself again or whatever.
Morka is out of her depth of knowledge. She's not a necromancer. She does not try to keep arcane knowledge of liches.
your people are the most familiar with the undead. None of you know the ways of raising the dead?
We know one of the ways of raising the dead, which is just leave it. And it
Get rid of
raises.
it.
Do you know anything about prayer to chase the dead away?
Sure. I mean, sorry, I'm going to have to get this name here. Give me a sec. One second. Of course, the great orc you met, Feridov, he is the martial priest of Garatone. He prays and lays his hand on the white stone, and it controls or turns the undead as he wills. Or maybe Garatone does so. Garatone does whatever he wills in his land.
Okay.
But certainly Feridov, I mean, he is called the martial priest of Garatone.
Yes. Well, thank you and enjoy cakes.
She's happy. Do any of y'all want to say anything else to her while she's here? She's happy. She's grateful.
Diamondback rolled a 16. Or wait, with disadvantage, it's a 13.
Okay.
To
Just real
try and
quick, to be clear, you are Bernie Madoff trying to sell me securities. You're trying to here's a stock that I want to sell. That is what you're doing.
What is?
And I got a 13 at it.
Persuasion bonus.
0.
No, Inkatink.
Oh.
I thought he was doing the help to give
Inkatink's persuasion bonus is a +3.
Instead of taking off the disadvantage, you can get Inkatink's bonus as well on it. So you're at a 16. So it's kind of persuasive. What do you say? What are you trying to persuade? Tell them.
So it's not actually very persuasive because I basically just say, the lich that was here is no longer any danger to anybody. It will not hurt any member of the village.
So your focus is like 1,000 miles from here? You told us it was like a mile and a half away or something like that.
What did I? When did I say that?
When I asked where it was, you said, "Oh, it's safe." And I asked, "How far away is it?" You said, like, I don't know, within a mile and a half or something like that.
Right.
Just for what it's worth, with a 16, Morka's kind of persuaded. I mean, she's like, all right. I mean, she hasn't seen any signs.
Yeah,
She's used to living here. She's not worried because.
Love to hear about why Inkatink, who was there for the one and the following one, is trying to persuade us of this. You just up the crack and put a skull on it because you're afraid of it, and now you're like, oh no, Diamondback seems like a good guy to listen to. You should all listen to him. What is happening there? Can you give me what's going on in your head?
Dwight, if you want to understand my character, you better start analyzing his cues.
His sinews?
Cues.
Oh, cues. Shoes? Shoes?
Cues.
Yeah, but Diamondback does not give any like real information. He's just asserting you guys are safe.
And he does. He seems to believe it. That's what the 16 is, right? He seems to be telling you, "Yo, it's safe. It's fine. It really is not a big deal." And he doesn't seem to be trying to pull one over on you that you can tell with a 16.
So Belvari does feel a little bit better because Diamondback is just deceived as opposed to deceiving.
What do you want to do? You want to head back? You want to go spelunking?
I guess I'll go and try to help the clog.
Okay.
Well, seeing that Yoshka will come along with Belvari.
Inkatink, Diamondback, Toll, what are y'all going to do?
Well, first we have to arrange to be seen by Diamondback has to arrange to be seen by Belvari skulking off.
Okay. Do your performance check.
Okay. Here it is. Diamondback's charisma is 0 and his performance bonus is 0. That's a 14.
What does that go against?
Why don't you roll that against your wisdom?
You should have a passive insight.
Passive insight will work, or insight also if you could use active if you're feeling. You just have this conflict with Diamondback, so if you're thinking that hoodlum, that's fine. Or if you're not, if you just see him skulking off.
Well, my passive insight is 13. So does that mean I don't notice it, or I am convinced by it?
I'll tell you in a second.
So here's what Diamondback does.
Yeah.
He asks Tull and Inkatink and for Tull to bring the 4 trees, and he sends his zombies to one of the exits to wait just outside, and they go there separately. I'm sorry?
Yeah, there's only one exit.
There's one exit, the main exit of the city.
Sure. So they're supposed to all sort of go out there separately.
Okay.
Whistling.
And you do that in earshot of Belvari.
No. And then what Diamondback does is he pretends to he walks past Belvari where Belvari can see him, and like pretends to like scuffs against the ground, making a little noise, and then he like looks around himself, like making sure the coast is clear in quotes, and then turns himself invisible, and then
But-
like makes a little bit of noise, like walking towards the exit, like. And he makes sure that Belvari sees him, and like sees
Well, he's-
some invisible footprints in the dust or the mud.
I was gonna say there's muck everywhere, right? So you're seeing
Yeah.
squelching muck footprints.
Just a few.
So
He knows Belvari is smart. He just leaves a few. Doesn't make it super obvious.
What do you do when? How are you getting through the muck without leaving footprints?
So Belvari, are you going to? Is that going to? You're basically with a 13 against his 14. You're something like. You're thinking maybe you kind of noticed something you weren't supposed to.
Gotcha.
Are you going to continue to help with the jam at Miradau, or are you going to try to see what that ne'er-do-well? And he seems to have made some kind of,
Hide the fact that he's leaving.
which
Mm-hmm.
also just to say, you've seen him do. You've been following him a little bit, so
Yeah.
it's not like what Belvari trying to leave. You know
Diamondback.
what? Diamondback trying to leave.
Yeah. Trying to figure out if that would just be, oh, it's just Diamondback being Diamondback, or if.
Has your thing in it?
Yeah, I think I'll follow.
Diamondback.
Yeah, I'll tell Yoshika, hey, I'm gonna go see what Diamondback. Sketchy. Maybe you can help with the plug.
Okay. Okay.
So Diamondback, as he goes past the others, the Inkatink will know to stay out of sight of Belvari, and Tull will know to have changed into an animal, and also stay out of sight. And Diamondback will take the trees, and with his zombies. Belvari will know that where Diamondback is, although Diamondback is invisible, because the zombies are there.
How long will it take you to? Sorry, how long does your invisibility last?
An hour.
Okay, it takes you about 20 minutes to get to the town exit from where you are. Just to give you a sense.
Sure.
Diamondback, Belvari, you're still following. When
Yeah.
you see him going out of the city,
Mm-hmm.
are you going to tell me about that? That's what you notice. He is invisibly, but the zombies are going a certain way, and you see occasional footprints of squat, squat, squat.
Yeah, if he goes and it's just the zombies, I'll be like, oh, whatever. But if I see the trees join in,
I don't see how you could fail to notice the trees joining in.
okay, then I would follow. Actually, you know what? I would go over to the squishing sound and say, Diamondback, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry. This is when you're at the entrance to the city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Cool.
out a little bit. The
Okay.
trees follow the zombies, and then I would go over.
Okay.
I guess Diamondback will continue being invisible. He's not gonna waste 40 more minutes of invisibility.
Belvar is
But-
standing looking like just to his right.
He'll be like,
Or maybe, well, he wouldn't have his back to him, but he would not be quite centered on him.
I am engaging in nefarious skullduggery. Don't you want to follow me and spy?
What's your plan?
Don't you want to follow me and find out?
I don't know. The people from Mirrodau need some help unplugging a hole.
So real quickly, Diamondback, you're attempting to. I don't know what this is.
The old triple double. Triple back, then double back, and they can't even tell which way is forward.
I think you're trying to do a double reverse psychology persuasion. So
I don't know what it is.
Triple
No,
double.
So roll me a. This is a new thing than sneaking along. So roll me a persuasion check.
Okay.
It was then by necessity that they developed counter-espionage homebrew rules.
6. But
Go
I
on.
mean, this is like, if he believes me that I'm actually engaging in the skullduggery, then he'll want to follow me. And if he doesn't believe me that I'm up to something like even more nefarious than my usual nefarious stuff, then he'll want to follow me.
I'm trying to balance this against
maybe?
going and helping Mirrodau.
This is a wisdom check he's using to get to understand you. Wisdom, right? And so here's what you know, Belvari, from this is you probably believe him that he's going to do something nefarious because he always does.
Yeah, I just assume.
The thing about it is you get the very distinct impression he wants you to follow him. That's what the wisdom is. You're getting his motivation.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not like hiding it. Don't you want to?
Yeah.
But so the question is, he did a not very good persuasion of like, you know, what he's
You want
persuading you
to
of is
follow
not
me
to
because
follow
it's
him.
your idea.
That's right. That's what he's trying to get into, and it was not persuasive. He gave you a 6 on your 13.
Gotcha. So now I'm stuck in the triple reverse duple apology.
Because he's a fool unless he knows that you'll believe him to be a fool.
Iocane powder cannot be in your cup.
That's right.
He spent most of this campaign being a moron.
So you can either go. Well, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But your Belvari might be thinking about, forget it, I'm going to go help, or he might be thinking, dang it, what's the option?
Yeah, so I think Belvar would just be like, hey, tell me the plan, or I'm just going to go help the Mirrodau people. Just stop with all the games. I know you're playing a game.
Diamondback will be like, okay, fine. I have reason to believe that there's a 2-person scouting party of Iron Bell approaching from the southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And
we should try to keep them from seeing the city.
yes, I have Tull is following. Inkatink is also following. I didn't think that you would come of your own volition, but you would be most useful if you could change into a wild animal. We hope to turn them away from the city with what appear to be natural causes. Wild animals, zombies, which are everywhere in this land, awakened trees, which sometimes occur naturally, to make them believe that they went astray in the woods, not through the intervention of any person, but just through the natural, for natural reasons, to defend the outpost.
Yeah, we should get them to just move around the city as if it weren't even here, and they'll just discombobulate them so they can go back and report that there's nothing here.
Teamwork for the dream.
If it were
Very good
possible
idea.
to lead them in that way, I if you can think of how, I don't know how to lead them, though. I think, I mean, the best way is for them to be attacked.
Have you ever been chased by a sentient tree?
Ah, yes. Yes, attack them with the trees. That would do grand.
Well, I think attacking
But we have
them
to
might
find them
just-
first.
Attacking them might just cause them to run and bring more people. I think we should present them with the image of zombies over here and a solid thicket of trees that causes them to, not really know exactly where they're going.
If you insist, but we must allow for attacking them to be our plan B.
I mean, sure, but if we do that, just know we'll need to meet 4 next time, or 8, or 16.
It won't. I think if they're driven away by wild beasts or naturally occurring Garaton zombies or trees, that they won't come back this way. Because we're not a
Maybe.
village resisting them. It's simply the wilderness.
Yeah, but they'll say, "Oh, we weren't able to scout with 2, but perhaps with a larger group we could scout."
They've actually been to the city before.
They have been to the city before.
There's a
No,
white obelisk.
that's different. They had this was a lake last time.
Yeah, it was a lake.
Yeah, but
They think it's a lake.
A lake.
Yeah, so we don't want them to see the city.
Yeah.
Right. We want to keep them away from what they think is just a lake.
Might
Right.
be like-
Because they also think that it is a lake with a ghost in it. A very, very, very
the
dangerous
scouts will be looking
ghost.
for a lake.
So there's already a reason for them to think there's no one hanging out here.
On their route.
They
But at all
probably
costs,
have-
we must not reveal ourselves.
Maybe
We must
Inca
appear natural.
showed us the lake. Inca.
Okay, so at this point, Inkatink has come out of hiding, right? Because he can see that the two of them are talking. And so he's been walking up and he can hear them having this conversation. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do? And Inkatink takes a few steps away and stands behind a tree or something like that. And you hear the sound of the dragon's, his scales rustling. You hear the scream of the Baisu Jin. You hear some really, really terrifying sounds from the night of the long night, the screams of terror, the people dying and being ripped apart by the giant shambling mass, the horrified screams of dozens of people.
Yes. Perhaps we could present the guards with that. They will be satisfied that they got close enough to the lake to report back. I think attacking them, though, would make them... They'd have to report that. They'd have to say, we were attacked and weren't able to get to where we were supposed to get. You know what I'm saying?
As long as we hold it open as a last resort, they must not see the village.
I agree.
Inkatink nods in agreement with Belvari and says, yeah, make them think it was their idea, of course. Yeah, certainly. Right.
Yeah, so let's draw a line of, red line. They cross this, they have to die. We try again with the follow-up group.
So we'll say like within 200 meters or whatever of the lake, if they get that close. Where they're
Before
about
they
to
get
see
an
it.
eye shot, right? We have to keep them from seeing the lake.
Yeah.
So one thing about this world is there's not like hills you can get up and look down.
That's right.
They have to get, like, to see the lake, they'd have to walk up onto the ridge.
That's right.
Right.
But we also don't want them to see the entrance
Right.
and all the flow out. So that's kind of what we're really protecting.
There's not a
Or-
lot of flow anymore, but it is mucky and
Yeah.
wet.
They'd be like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, and you've caused giant plant growth outside the city, and we've cut some trees down around the city.
Yeah, so the plant growth should help from any other approach to the city. Like if they stumbled along, they'd kind of hit a wall where they thought, oh, the lake should be somewhere around here. We can't get through. But
Right.
if they moved along that, they'd get to the entrance. So that's kind of what we have to protect. from them seeing. I think.
Yep.
I mean,
so now
you've
we
been
need to
in-
roll
What
survival.
does he know of the area? Did you already sort that out?
What do you mean?
Like, how is the forest around the hill different now after the flood?
I mean,
How
it
significant
cleaned
is
off
the
a
flood?
lot of the debris and everything, although he's been growing more plants
Mhm.
using magic. What were you going to say, Matt?
Sorry, I was suggesting that we could make our survival check to try and find these guys, and maybe stealth checks
on
to
board.
not be seen by them.
It's 9:56,
Yeah.
but just to tell you, as you resolve to that, you hear somewhere off to the west the tolling of a bell.
Mm. To the west.
There she blows.
And then we hop on our levy ships and chase it.
That's right.
It's Moby Dick.
That's where we'll end this episode. The bell is not super distant. It is, it's not like tolling like an alarm or anything, but you do hear a bell tolling not too far away to the west or southwest.
Oh, and then just as a clarification, when they're tolling, is that means they're approaching a village or something, or is that just they do that occasionally to be like, hey,
Just walking along, there's a bell on the end of a stick. It makes noise sometimes.
Gotcha.
Or
So
some,
it's not like a train whistle where it's, oh, we're coming to a crossing, blah blah. It's
Yeah.
just kind of random.
kind of random. Sometimes they're told, it's very purposeful.
Yeah,
This is just you just hear the bell in the distance, and
gotcha.
everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
It means run.
How nice to come to a cliffhanger at the end of an episode, hear the bell and be like, hot dog.
That's right.
See, Diamondback, you don't have to hide from me when you're doing the right thing.
Remember, kids, killing an Iron Bell member is always the right thing. Do your part and take out the bell.
That's right. Winning is half the battle.
Would you like to learn more?
So that's where we'll end this episode. Thank you for playing, guys, and thank you all for listening. You can find out more about the Starfall Collective and the stories we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. Have a good night.